So we're going into Tech Week. What is Tech Week? Well, if you have never done a show before, you might not be familiar with the process of theater. I don't know yet what my tech is going to be like because I'm just going into it now. Probably talk to you about that process along the way.
I've been an actor for over 35 years. I recently got an opportunity to direct a theatrical production of A Christmas Carol, so I thought it would be fun to document the process of directing a show. So let's get started after the bump. Hello, I'm Doug Fall, your augmented actor, helping you augment your acting career with tips, tactics, and tech. If this is your first time joining us, please consider subscribing to my channel. I produce all sorts of content related to the performing arts, including theater, film, and virtual reality. And if you really like this content, please hit that notification bell so that you can be notified whenever I post new content, so you don't miss a beat. In my production of A Christmas Carol, I have the idea, the concept that the actors are kind of on stage most of the time. The props are minimal and we reuse several props throughout the show. The set stays the same, it just sort of moves and morphs. I wanted to use these set changes as actual choreographed pieces of the show rather than going black, doing a set change and then coming back up or masking it with a song in front of a curtain or something. I wanted to make these set changes parts of the show. Our four ghosts in the show, there's Marley, there's Christmas Past, Christmas Present, and Christmas Future. And each of these ghosts has their own style. And so I thought it would be fun to give each of these ghosts a way of presenting their visions to Scrooge. So Past comes on and there's a lot of children. This magic bed moves about the stage with Christmas magic, and following it are a children's choir. I'm using them as Christmas Past's method of presenting her visions to Scrooge. And then for Christmas Present, that's a very jolly Father Christmas type character. All of those transitions are cast members singing carols, a cacophony of Christmas noise and voices, lots of rotating lines of people that come out and swirl around and pick up some chairs and move them to a new location. And then Future is this menacing Grim Reaper type character. And those are very dark, thunderous, scary, ominous set changes and very bangy. So they'll bang their chairs on the ground and make a lot of noise. So here's the thing. All along, I've been working on the scenes, the actual dialogue, the scene work, and we've done a lot of character work in building the show. What I haven't had a lot of time for is these transitions, figuring those things out before I have all of my technical elements in place. I don't have all of my set pieces, I don't have all of my props, I definitely don't have all of my costumes in place yet. Figuring all that stuff out and giving the actors a head start on our technical rehearsals is what I've been focusing on, and I just don't have a lot of time to do it. So I'm leaving rehearsals feeling like I got that 80% done, but it's not quite there yet, and then I don't have time to revisit it. So time is the big enemy. Another big enemy is conflicts. I know we're actors, and especially when we're working for little or no money, we basically say, hey, you know, I'll do the show, but I need these nights off. Some directors are not gonna be able to tolerate many conflicts or any conflicts because it is super important to have people there. I didn't think it would be. I was handed a list of conflicts and I'm like, oh, okay, we've got a 5-week rehearsal process. That shouldn't be a problem. And if somebody misses a rehearsal, they'll just come in and figure out what they missed and we'll go on. But I realized that every time somebody's missing, it prevents me from scheduling certain scenes for rehearsal. If I'm gonna do it, I wanna do it once and not have to reteach the scene for somebody that was missing it. So it creates this scheduling puzzle. There were a couple rehearsals where I'm like, the people I need to call have conflicts or I have restrictions on when I can call them. I just spent about 5 hours of my day going through the schedule for this next week's rehearsal. It's the first week where I'm going to be doing blocking for the show, and there's a number of cast conflicts. I had to break down the show scene by scene, moment by moment, who's coming in, who's leaving, and I charted it all out on an Excel spreadsheet. And I mapped out a rehearsal call that combined everybody's conflicts And it was it was quite a puzzle to put together. Kudos to all you directors out there who have to figure this stuff out. It's probably a lot easier when you don't have many conflicts, when you get your cast the entire time. Believe me, I like doing puzzles, but this was a huge puzzle to solve.
No matter how hard I try, I almost always call somebody into rehearsal who ends up waiting around or not doing anything actively because of the nature of the show. I have to stop sometimes and take the time to fix something that involves just a few actors that are on stage at the moment, and so I end up letting other people sit and wait. Unintentionally, of course. I really try my best to not waste people's time, especially when they're not getting paid and they're volunteering their time, and we only have so much time to spend anyway. I want to bring people there, use them as best as I can. But one thing I've discovered is you just can't make that happen for everyone all the time. As an actor, you got to realize that sometimes you will feel like your time is wasted. So bring a book, bring something to do when you go to rehearsal, and just realize that sometimes it happens. If it happens all the time, then it's a problem. But if it happens every once in a while, you got to give your director and your production team credit for trying to use your time effectively. In a previous video, I showed you how I use Gravity Sketch to design sets and costumes. You can catch that video link up above. And I kind of came up with some concepts for my show. I made a little door stoop that revolves. I made some glowing fireplaces. I had a bed and some tables that were shaped like gravestones. And it really turned out kind of cool. The technical director of the theater liked my designs and has already built so many of these set pieces. And I am really excited to see my ideas, my little sketches show up on stage each time I go in, and I'll see that revolve and it looks kind of like I imagined it, and it functions better. Things look a lot bigger on the stage than they do in my little VR experiment. It's exciting to see it. It's also exciting to see the different people that are in the show, and the stuff that they bring to the show as actors is just always amazing, and it's always something you don't expect as a director. You have a vision in your head of what you kind of want, and you never get that because these are people, and people bring their own ideas and their own interpretations to these roles. But what you get sometimes is way better than what you imagined, or at least it works. Now I am approaching Tech Week. People call it Hell Week because you spend longer hours at the theater. So I'm trying to use these last few rehearsals to solve as many of those problems going into tech as possible. For those that don't know, Tech Week is like the last week or so of a rehearsal process where the show itself has been staged for the most part, and we start adding in the elements of lights, sets, set changes, costume changes, and many theaters will do what's called a cue to cue. So they'll spend sometimes 10 or 12 hours a day going from the first cue, setting how the lights look, setting the timing of everything, adding the sound elements in, that kind of stuff. Then they'll go back and run up to that point through that cue, and then they'll set the next cue. In Second Story, where I'm doing this show, they have a slightly different process. They like to give the actors a chance to just run through the show as many times during Tech Week. So we run the show, and the technical people and the stage manager add elements in, play with elements, and time those things out while the show's running. And then after the show, they will spend an additional hour or so fine-tuning some of those cues and getting them set for the next run-through. So that way, the actors don't have to sit around and wait. Now, normally in a tech, you all have to plan on going back and doing things over and over and over again as an actor. And then when they're not working on the scenes that you're in, you're often waiting for sometimes hours at a time for them to progress to the next point. Tech rehearsals can be very tedious. They can also be really fun as an actor because it's a time for you to be able to socialize with other actors when you're not being used on stage.
Fred talks.
Thank you for coming to my Fred talk. I love it.
It's also time to really solidify your lines, your blocking, all that stuff, because you'll run things over and over and over and over and over again. Tech is a very stressful time for the director and the stage manager, and that's when they almost demand your complete focus as an actor, and they get a little short fused because they are trying
to race against the clock. So bring a book or knitting or whatever it is you can do to pass the time so that you are there and available at a moment's notice and you're focused. Spend that time to get to know your cast members a little bit better. Spend that time to build some relationships. You have hours and hours sitting in a dark room with nothing else to do, so you might as well use that time. But make sure you use that social time away from the director and the stage manager, in the hallways, in the dressing room, and being ready to be where you're supposed to be when the time comes. And then when you're on stage as an actor, you need to be focused on your task at hand. And sometimes you just have to stand there for half an hour while somebody focuses lights on you, and you have to be able to go back and pick up a scene at a certain line over and over and over again. So just be prepared for that sort of tedious process. And use it as a time to clean your stuff as an actor. There's always the crazy thing that happens, and I see it as an actor all the time, where you tell people, hey, I need your attention, I need you to be quiet, yet people still talk, and the volume still starts to rise, and then the stage manager or the director get a little frustrated trying to constantly bring people's voices down. And the larger the cast, the more this tends to be a tendency. It's a strange thing that humans do when they get in the same room, because they don't think they're talking, but they are talking, and they're whispering, and they're making a comment, and pretty soon there's some giggling, and then everybody else feels that they need to start talking, and pretty soon the volume just rises up like a room filling up with water in an earthquake or something, or flood. Remember, as actors, keep your mouth quiet, keep focused, stay attention, and realize that you contribute to the problem anytime you open your mouth. My advice for directors, especially first-time directors, is to not panic. There is time to use the resources of your actors and your stage manager and the designers and whatnot, because sometimes you'll be struggling and you'll be kind of tunnel focused on how to solve a problem so that it fits your vision. And other people might be able to say, hey, what about this solution? What if we cut this? What if we change this? What if we change the person who's doing this? And sometimes it's a solution that you just didn't even think to consider. So use the people around you as resources. There is enough time. Yes, the doomsday clock is ticking and opening night is approaching, but there's something magical that happens in theater when you put actors in front of an audience, even if they're not ready 100%, even if they're still feeling shaky, even if they didn't get a full run through, that vibe that they get in front of an audience brings the show together almost 100% of the time. Hopefully, as a director, you'll be organized enough that your show will be in a good stage a day or two ahead of that first audience. Just know that you're going to have to make compromises. As the sets and the lights and things like that and the costumes, they'll come in, and no matter how much planning and concepting you've done, there's always budget limitations. There's always, we couldn't get this, or for some technical reason this didn't work, or something looks amazingly much bigger than you thought it was going to be, or smaller than you thought it was going to be, and you have to restage your blocking. There's a lot of things you have to change at the last minute, so you got to be open and flexible and fluid. And luckily, theater is a very flexible and fluid environment. The choreographer needs time to work on the dance numbers, and the music director needs time to work on the musical numbers, and the actors need time to work on things like walking on stilts and trying on costumes and making their costume changes, and all these little elements that are starting to filter in. So it leaves the actual rehearsal time for acting and staging very limited, in my circumstance at least. So it's been a bit of a crazy time trying to get all this together, yeah. So anyway, I feel like we're in a good place. I feel like the cast is on board with my ideas in general, and the production team is really liking the direction that I'm going, and I'm hoping that it just plays the way I want it to. It seems like it is for the most part, and there's some problem spots that I gotta fix, and I don't quite know what to do, and sometimes I just feel like I'm winging it.
I do have to say, I secretly feel like I'm winging it. Even though I have prepared a lot and done a lot of prep work and research and whatnot, stuff that I normally don't even do when I act in a show, I still feel like I don't quite know what I'm gonna do, and I'm kind of feel like I'm winging it. And I think that's a feeling that anybody who bites off a little more than they have done before feels. So whether you're an actor or a director, I mean, I know there's been times when I've been an actor and I'm suddenly doing some lead role and there's all kinds of crazy stuff I have to do in the show, and you go to day one of rehearsal and you just think, how am I going to learn all this and get this all done? There is usually enough time, so I got to trust the process and trust that there's enough hours in the day to get these things done and these problems solved, and things will come to me. I know that. You know, if you're feeling that way in whatever project you're working on, it's a human being feeling that everyone has.
You have to be flexible as a director. You can go in with a plan, and I write down all these copious notes, and then I get there and realize, oh, I can't do that because this person's not there, or whatever the case may be. And it just becomes an exercise in, let's solve this problem and improvise as quickly as possible. It's more than I expected somewhat as a director. So, yeah. What projects are you working on right now? Tell me. Pump your project down in the comments below. Let other people know what you're working on, because I really want to know. If you have some friends who might benefit from this, please send this video along to them. And if you want to see more videos like this one, I have some suggestions over in the boxes to whichever side they're on. They could be over there, they could be over there, they could be up above or down below, but look around me and you'll see some boxes to click on. Thanks again for joining me today, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.